to the podcast. Dave and Rob. Sorry for that, but welcome back to the podcast. I am Dave, and here is Rob over here.
Dave was not briefly electrocuted, just in case you were worried for him. That was an impression.
An attempt of an impression. I do apologize, but I do believe I may have given some at least intellectual appearance to Bobcat Goldthwait's manner of speaking in several films. But, that's just a little lead into what we'll be talking about today. I think Rob's got a headache right now.
Oh, no. My headache came when I was watching this movie.
Okay. Before we get started, we'll do our usual little shtick here with the Hollywood Shuffle. We'll grab our lead, our action, and the twist. So we're going to start with our lead.
All right, our lead is going to be a ruthless mafia kingpin.
Okay.
Oh, wow, this could open up a lot of things.
Yes. And the action
surfs colossal waves. Oh,
Isn't
dear.
that Point Break?
Really wasn't a mafia kingpin for Point Break.
Bank robbers. And the twist.
The twist is set against the backdrop of a Florida retirement community. Okay, well, that makes the surfing a little easier, although I don't know how great the waves are in California or in Florida. Oh, wow. Okay, well, the Ruthless Mafia Kingpin has De Niro all over it.
Oh, and because it's in the retirement community, that's perfect. This could be a current film.
Yep. The surfing, though. Well, how do we get to surfing? De Niro, okay,
it's Florida.
It's a comedy, so De Niro surf, I guess.
Florida, waves.
No, it's in a senior center, so it's a wave pool.
Oh.
Hijinks ensue when... Oh, let's see. We want to find another older actor. We're going to make this a comedy. An older actor. We'll get Tim Allen to put a Hemi on that wave pool generator so that all of a sudden it's a tidal wave pool. What do you think?
That'd be interesting. So will this ruthless mafia kingpin be kind of like, settling down, trying to not be part of the thing anymore?
Yeah, but he's still got to be ruthless. So he's going to whack a couple of his competitors.
They were dying anyways.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
you're dying anyways.
Yeah, Earl from Room 12. He was a contender. They had him whacked. Paulie Walnuts go over and whack him.
They're going to make a sequel to this one.
Yeah.
Yep. He becomes a Fortune 500 CEO in the sequel. So I guess the retirement backdrop wasn't good enough.
Oh no.
But deep inside just wants to be loved.
Oh, this is what is it? The De Niro and Billy Crystal Analyze This.
Oh wow!
Was it Analyze That? Kind of him.
I don't
deep
remember.
Down, he was crying all the time.
Might have been.
Oh gosh, we tapped that too early.
Dang.
Becoming a CEO, going from a mobster to being a CEO, that's in danger of being too political.
That's just the waves didn't work out as much, but he's just looking to be loved.
Honestly, I think the sequel is a stronger movie than the first one.
Better writers.
Yeah.
Better writers. They kind of didn't like what was going on here, so they bring him here, and he finds his love. Who should be his love? Glenn Close.
Oh, I was just thinking Glenn Close, actually.
Glenn Close.
Yeah, Glenn Close would be awesome. She's awesome in almost everything, though.
So she's in the sequel. He becomes the Fortune 500 CEO.
Okay, but we got to have some drama in there. Glenn Close has got to have some role that's kind of contradictory to either she's a stumbling block in the way of him becoming the Fortune 500 CEO, or he has to give up something of being a ruthless mafia kingpin. Like, she's a
that's
a
for
law
the third
enforcement.
movie.
Oh no! Why are you doing? Sequels are so often just not a good idea. Oh,
what are you trying to say? Now our ruthless mafia kingpin hacks up co-eds with rusty machete. Well, it sounds like he had enough of trying to change his lifestyle.
Oh my gosh.
And the twist is with the mischievous orangutan.
Oh, Lovely. Well, I
That's-
don't think Clyde from Any Which Way But Loose is doing anything these days.
Andy
Assuming it's alive.
Serkis.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Motion
okay.
Cat.
Andy Serkis. Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Gosh.
This would actually make a pretty good trilogy. It's fitting because ruthless mafia guy, retirement doesn't work out, the CEO thing doesn't work out, so he just says, screw it, I'm just gonna
If the CEO thing was the first one, that might actually make a pretty solid movie. The surfing colossal waves is just silly, but that's part of the attraction of this kind of a game, is to make these silly premises work. Then it gets just too dark to go from any of the other two.
It just wasn't cutting it. It wasn't cutting it.
Well, he's cutting it now, apparently.
Yeah, because
oh my goodness,
he tried straightening up, it didn't work out, so now he's doing his murdering with this orangutan.
Oh, I laugh because I know I'm going to cry. All right.
Don't worry. That came to an end. They didn't make any more of those movies with Robert De Niro. I just want to change this up a little bit, but...
Sure. Well, you wanted to pound home that sometimes the sequelitis could be pretty painful.
Very painful. Sounds like more painful for you than me, though, however.
Speaking of which, painfulness... Oh, my goodness. We're going to talk about Police Academy 2, their first mission. Or their first assignment, which I have to confess that I'm somewhat bitter towards Dave for making me watch this again. Because when I watched this the first time, I was but a lad. I was young and impressionable and foolish, and if the few sight gags that were somewhat funny in this movie were enough for me. But now I watched it and I just want to cry, because what they did with this movie, with the characters that they had, the comedy ensemble that they had from the first one, that they developed painstakingly with good comedy craftsmanship, and then that all went away, and I really need some vodka right now. But I'm gonna think about this, and I'm gonna think about it sober. So we're gonna do this. All right. Where should we start with this movie? Police Academy 2, their first assignment. The class of 84 has gotten their first assignment. Okay, before we go any further, in case you haven't been clued into this, I didn't care for this movie a whole lot, but I'm going to try to put a brave face on it and be objective, even though a part of me just wants to go all nostalgia critic on this and carry on and be silly. But we're going to give this a legitimate covering for those of you who may have some, warm thoughts about this movie. Maybe you watched it at a certain time and it's got a certain emotional attachment. So I'll give it my best shot.
Fair enough.
And Dave didn't completely hate it, so then out of the two people in this room right now, I am the one who absolutely hated it. So
I will admit, I probably rated it a little too high when I reviewed it on Facebook back in 2011.
I think you did. I think anything other than face-melting toxic sauce is overrating this thing. But at least it opens with a nice theme. The anthem is returned from the first one, which is good. And it goes on to tie all the Police Academy movies together, even when they go away from the Police Academy.
Yeah.
As they did here.
Yeah, I did like the opening of this little merchant guy, as he is listed in the credits.
He's not named Sweet Chuck because they mention him by name.
Well, right, but there's a reason for that. And when they wrote the character, they just wrote it just for this one little gag of him locking up his doors for his shop, just chaining everything, bringing out the Clint Eastwood standee, probably from a Dirty Harry movie.
Yeah.
And then lock up some more things and just keeps locking and locking and locking. Okay, it's just a little silly thing. Nothing harmful, and then he goes to the time machine bank thing, which I find amazing. Back in the old days when they made these movies, they make these time machines so complicated. Maybe they were complicated to get stuff out.
ATM?
An ATM, yeah. And
not really that much different from how they are today.
Yeah, it was just, I think some people didn't understand how they worked or the technology, so they just made
they weren't everywhere then. They were kind of a different thing. And quite honestly, the idea of doing your banking transaction out on the side of a street is, well, it doesn't work out for Mr. Sweet Chuck, does it?
No, Mr. Zed comes by with his gang of hooligans, I guess, to hassle him. I think I've played the Godfather game, and I think what was going on is Zed was probably hustling money out of him for protection, maybe. Like,
yes,
you got, or however he talks. He talks stupid. No, as I'm older now, it's dumb.
It's his shtick, and thank you so much to this movie for introducing us all to Bobcat Goldthwait. Yeah, I've got a special little place for Zed, but yes, Sweet Chuck gets held up for his protection money. You are correct. They were running a protection racket. That's haha. Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, it was just a little
to show how bad things are in this precinct 18. That he got held up like that, and yeah, we certainly have seen characters who were hapless and in the face of crime and bullying in the first movie. Sweet Chuck kind of takes the role of Barbara, who does not return for the second movie, as kind of the innocent who gets abused and intimidated. He doesn't get a payoff to this, however, like Barbara does until the third movie, but we'll get into that.
So I believe the next scene then cuts to the precinct 18. That is that what it was? Precinct
18th precinct, yep.
And this gag, this joke that they try, I can't even call it a joke, but this thing that they did in the scene where the lady throws a stone at the police station's sign or whatever, and it
breaks the glass bulb above the station door.
Even as a kid, I never liked that joke, and
it wasn't really a joke. It was a statement of how much they hated how they were being served by that precinct, which was a setup for how dire the situation was, but it really wasn't all that funny.
Right, the way
Except
they played
the commissioner was walking through and got pelted, but
yeah, the way they did it was where you throw this old lady who wouldn't normally not do such a thing, throws this rock and then just does this and then walks away, and I'm like, was I supposed to laugh at this? I don't know. I mean, they were trying to make something out of it.
Get used to that feeling, Dave. We will experience it again and again through this movie.
There's only one more joke that I like in the movie, and that's about it. And so then you get the police chief comes in.
Who is the same police chief from the first movie, which is some more nice continuity.
And he goes to Lessard brother. Howard Hessman is the Peter Lessard, who happens to be the brother of Eric Lessard,
who is really good at playing a world-weary kind of a guy who's always tired. And actually, it's a good casting role for this particular role because, as we're going to find out, it's not fun to be the chief of the 18th precinct.
So Chief Hurst is it Commissioner Hurst now? The police chief Hurst, he's hassling. What are you going to do about this precinct? We need more police on the streets, and we need to get this into shape. And then you got your Mauser character.
This is where we get introduced to Captain Mauser, or not Captain yet. To Mauser.
Mauser, he's a
lieutenant commander,
and he's your Harris character.
Oh, he wants to be. Oh, he sleeps in Harris pajamas, but he is not a good replacement for Lieutenant Harris. His character revolves around being a butt kisser to anybody more powerful than him. Very, very, I guess the only word is he's aggressively ambitious, nakedly ambitious, to the point that he wants to run the precinct.
Very nakedly.
To the point where he's willing to, sabotage the precinct to get what he wants. And so you're introduced, obviously, too, he is, he doesn't really respect Lessard, which is kind of easy to see. He doesn't seem to be the type of person who inspires a great deal of trust and loyalty.
I actually kind of liked his character, but it doesn't hold a candle to Harris, though. I mean, Harris is better structured.
Yeah, the problem with Mauser is because I'm gonna jump the gun a little bit, because Zed is so weak as a villain. Mauser ends up becoming the villain. Harris, you could get to dislike Harris from the first movie, certainly, but Harris, for the most part, kept to the rules. Harris he had his own code of honor, even if he was a bully and enjoyed kind of sadistically lording it over those. Mauser was just petty. He was just obnoxious. Not even to some extent, he like I said, channeled a little bit of Harris, especially in the way he delivered his, when he was talking down to people. He was channeling Harris pretty well. Everything else, though, just the character was not written with any strength to him. You had to respect Harris's strength. You went against him. He was going to make it. Mauser, you never got
Mauser looks like he tried too hard. But then again, we're talking about Harris in the first movie versus it's Mauser in this film. As we go further along, Harris.
Honestly, the way I
Harris.
felt with Mauser was that the director just said, okay, remember what worked in this first movie? Try doing some of that. And it didn't come through very well.
No,
yeah.
So we got Lassard, Peter Lassard being told he's got to get things into shape. You can have X amount of men to do the job to help you. Get to it. And
get some more men. By all means, get some more men.
And then he calls his brother, Eric Lassard from the police academy, who says, well, certainly, we have many, many, many wonderful people we can send you. And then begin our whole little montage of characters from the original film.
And what they're doing now.
I like Mahoney doing the beach thing. That made sense for him. However, his ripped suit was kind of goofy. But
okay, let's go on with the first. What is horribly wrong with this movie? Remember how in the first Police Academy, everything set up something for a payoff later on down the road. Everybody that you were introduced to, everybody's position in the movie from the first time you saw them started telling you something about the character or started to work up to something good. Like, for instance, Barbara. We knew he was kind of a passive guy, but a nice guy. Oh, he gets bullied by these guys. Well, at the end of the movie, he takes those guys down. There's a payoff to this. They come back. What happens with Mahoney on the beach? Oh, he's having fun with a good old boy on a truck. Where's the payoff? Mahoney just kind of deals with it sort of in a kind of a passive-aggressive way, and just it kind of works.
He kind of does his punk thing, like a police officer wouldn't be doing what Mahoney did.
Nope.
Who was next? Was the Jones scene next?
Oh, dear God, you're going to make me remember this. Actually, you jumped ahead. Tackleberry had the first one. Again, Tackleberry leads. Tackleberry had the first opening in the first movie, and he did in this one. He's a crossing guard. Exactly the person you want as a crossing guard. And a kid, smart alecky kid, kind of, was back-talking his mom and locks her out of their car. And says he's not going to school. Tackleberry resolves it with the usual attack. No, shoots with his big revolver. Shoots through and through on the car.
Some of these movies, they start to kind of overlap, so it's like sometimes it's hard to remember which one is which.
This movie will numb the senses. So he blows out the window, firing a gun, yes, right in front of a child through a window. Yeah, he's still on the force. Again, it's a comedy, yes. Tackleberry is a comic character. I understand this, but
it's over the top.
We're finding out that Tackleberry is the same Tackleberry that we knew before. Okay.
Remember,
we've established this. He likes to shoot things.
Remember what I mentioned, how they took these good characters and turned them into caricatures.
Right.
So it's like all the stuff that was funny for these characters in the first film, they kind of mutated it.
Well, this is actually a running gag because Tackleberry always has the situation where he's by himself and he's called upon to help somebody, and he does it either with a chainsaw or a gun or, will you get my kitty out of the tree? Sure. That's a Tackleberry running joke, and that's fine, I guess. It works enough. Maybe slightly chuckle-worthy. Then we have Jones.
This scene I do not like this scene, period. Okay.
There's several problems with this scene as far as comedy-wise. Number one,
nothing's funny.
There's not much funny. There's a couple of hipsters. This is mocking some hipsters. They are talking. There's a couple.
I'll just watch it on TV. Yeah. I don't have a television. I don't have a television either.
Sure, but Jones decides he's going to be something, And he starts making noises as they're talking. Yeah, which clearly is not matching up with what they're doing. And for all, we've never been introduced to the fact that he is apparently a ventriloquist who can throw his voice. We know he can make different noises and sounds and stuff, and that's fine. But yeah, apparently now he's also a ventriloquist, and so good that two people sitting across from each other can't tell that the noise is coming from that person across the hall. Sure. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's freaking hilarious. Thank you, Jones. All those talents that you've got comes down to a really lame gag. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. We're good. We gotta go.
Don't worry, Rob. We will watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. I promise.
Okay, we're only this far, Dave. I'm holding my fingers about 3 inches. We are only that far in my notes. I have 3 pages of notes on this stinker.
Wow. You might have went a little overboard.
I wanted to be thorough, Dave.
Who was the next character?
That was Mahoney as Beach Patrol. He resolves the road truck by causing him to drive off a cliff, which is exactly what this movie did. I mean, no. Basically, the guy was not looking ahead. He was too busy jibing with Mahoney and drove off off a cliff into some water, which stopped his rampage. And that was appropriate. That was the appropriate way to deal with that situation, I guess. Haha, it's all over with. Good. Which also lets Mahoney walk around in a wetsuit for a while, so sure, okay. So then we don't need to go over the rest of them because they don't. They just are all in the office.
Office.
Thackler, Hooks, Hightower, Tackleberry, Mahoney, and Jones are brought into the room. Great, you're being assigned to the 18th precinct together.
And then they get their Mauser. Is it Mauser that does his introduction?
Lieutenant Mauser then does his personal introduction.
Which is Harris-like. And
it takes Harris's place as the foil. He is their watch commander. He's a lieutenant. We really aren't introduced to, but we meet Proctor, who is his bumbling suck-up toady. While I don't like a lot of the characterizations in the movie, and I certainly don't like a lot of the jokes and the humor of the movie, admittedly, as far as the casting goes, I think they did a great job of casting the actors with the roles they got. The guy who plays Proctor is a really good bumbling sidekick.
Lance Kinsey.
There you go.
I remember him from a little scene that he did in one of the Cheech and Chong movies.
Nice. Honestly, he would fit in as the bumbling foil in the Power Rangers just as well. Just kind of the hapless boob who's willing to work with whoever he thinks can help him out the most because he's pretty hapless on his own. And Mauser, again, he's petty, he's mean. He demonstrates exactly how petty he is. With Harris, you had the thought that, he's trying to be a drill instructor. He is trying to mold people. Mauser's just a jerk. And there's not a lot else you can really say about it. He's holding back the precinct. He is the problem.
He wants the people to fail.
Yeah, because if you're going to inherit a precinct, you want one that's completely bottomed out. That's smart. But again, I'm overanalyzing a comedy here, so we'll just keep going.
I do that all the time. Don't worry.
Well, logic is nice, but so anyhow, their great mission is to fight a gang. Okay, we knew that Sweet Chuck early on got held up by a bunch of thugs. Apparently, it's a gang they're fighting. So it's topical. Gangs in the 80s? Oh, yeah. This gang is led by Bobcat Goldthwait, so it's not really worth the effort. So Mahoney gets creepy with a balloon animal.
Another.
As he's going to get fitted for his uniform, he borrows a balloon animal from a kid. Again,
apparently he doesn't know anything about sexual harassment.
A joke, and that didn't happen. Nobody sexually harassed anybody in the 80s. It was fine. But stuffing it down his pants to, again, mildly humorous, possibly payoff. Heck no. Just doing something creepy and silly, stuffing the balloon animal down his pants to yeah.
See, that's
what's his big comic line as she looks at his extra bulge? Be gentle.
See, I think that's where the rest of the film's kind of goal now. It's they're all just one gag after another gag, and so on and so forth. There's nothing that really starts off and builds up and pays off. I equivalent them to the scenes in like Family Guy, where Family Guy does those, like, they got their plot going, if you want to call it that, and then they say one line and then they cut to another scene where they do some random joke and then they get back to their story. It's kind of like what this is doing, except these are all the random jokes.
Yeah, well, it does serve to show that Mahoney still has the sophomoric humor, even though he is a police officer who takes his job somewhat seriously. But again, it's a quick hitting joke with no real setup and doesn't have a payoff. Again, they get their assigned partners because they all have a partner. Jones' partner is a jerk. Pretty much that's about all I have. And don't worry about these partners too much because you don't get to see them very long. This whole partner thing, again, no real payoff. But again, they got paired with usually the person who's the worst person for them to be paired up with.
They pretty much got paired up with their...
Again, kind of the polar opposite thing for
Mahoney
the most part,
did.
except for Thackler.
Yeah, Thackler got... Yeah, he got the...
Thackler got the guy who no, he was a nice old guy.
Right.
He just had no idea of Fackler's little special thing, and their car got burned down as a result. We'll get into that.
But he was kind of neglecting the whole thing, too, so he's kind of as oblivious as Fackler is.
Yeah. There's no payoff to these partners they get saddled up with. Again, this you'll never see them again, so don't get too attached. Mahoney gets set up with his balloon animal partner, we're going to call it. Jones gets a partner who has no respect for rookies, and as a result, Jones messes with him by making him think his car is flat tire. They get on check, no, tires are fine. Oh, no, and gets back in. Jones keeps messing with him by making noises like the tire is flat.
Another dumb...
Nobody feels
Jones
bad
thing.
for him. It's not very funny. They waste time doing this. Yes?
Yeah, there was just another bad Jones gag they did with the whole car thing with the boom, boom, boom.
It's like you're checking off a list here. There's so much time. Jones has to do something making some sound thing.
Have you guys ever had a flat tire? It doesn't sound like boom, 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 boom. Anyways.
Yeah, and you can feel a flat tire too. And
yeah.
This guy couldn't apparently. So yeah, good on him. We get introduced to Officer Kirkland. She becomes Tackleberry's partner, and she's the female version of Tackleberry. That's it. She is just a gun nut. Female version of Tackleberry. And you don't need to say anything else about her, really.
Drives a motorcycle, too.
Yeah, she drives a motorcycle. And Tackleberry is immediately smitten. So some character development for Tackleberry. Yes, women do. Well, we kind of knew he had eyes for women at the party scene in the first movie, but so he's not oblivious, but he's deeply smitten. Thackler gets the nice old cop as his partner. Seems like a nice guy, and Fackler is a nice guy. He's just a raging whirlwind of horrible karma. So while they go inside and have a sandwich together, their car gets set on fire. And I believe it's Fackler who gives them the lighter to do it. Genius. Again, we got to make sure the Fackler gets some time because he's not going to get a lot in this movie either. Just really did not know what to do with him comedy-wise. Not even in the first one, but even now. This second movie just...
Yeah, the first one, like, he just disappeared during the whole riot act, literally.
And he went and stole clothes.
Yeah.
He went in and came out with a suit of
Well, we don't know that.
clothes.
He might have bought them.
In the middle of a riot?
Yeah,
I suppose it's possible.
It's possible.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. So, Mahomey's partner is a slob. His name is Stuhlman. And he's got a dog, a huge dog named Lou. But we never had anything that Mahoney is particularly finicky or anything, but Stuhlman's just unpleasant.
Sounds like Mahoney is a neat freak or a clean freak almost, and when he gets teamed up with Stuhlman, that's his opposite, I guess. It's almost like inventing a new... You didn't really see this part of Mahoney in part one, so when they do the character in the sequel, they kind of like, oh, we need to do this. Oh, we'll just say that he's kind of maybe got neat freak tendencies. And
I'm not a neat freak, but I would have been grossed out by that place. I mean, they definitely went out of their way to make Stuhlman as kind of revolting as possible. A nice guy, certainly, but a complete slob. And again, another one of those people that's hard to kind of imagine this person as a cop, except in a comedy cop.
At least your cat knows how to use the litter box.
Yes, that's... Thanks for reminding me of that scene. And oh yes, there's plenty of comedy payoff to Stillman being a slob. No, there isn't. Anyhow, but they do keep going back to it because you have to keep being reminded that this guy will eat candy bars off the ground and
from the garbage.
And
hey, that's where Seinfeld stole that from.
Sure,
in that episode.
I've never seen Seinfeld. So what was this? Oh yeah, Hightower's on foot patrol. Yay, he settles a football issue. Football rolls to him, and of course, Hightower is actually his actor is Bubba Smith, who himself is a football player, and he launches the jerk who stole the football in the first place into a garage door because the guy will
super strong.
You
know, when I rented Police Academy 2, that particular I picture this guy being Zed's number one. This blonde-haired dude. And at the time frame when I rented Police Academy 2 when I was a kid, this is when Beavis and Butthead was a thing. This guy looks exactly like Beavis. In fact, in some ways, he might even kind of talk like him. Hey, officer, why don't you throw that over here? You know.
Yeah, I'd offer to go back and see that, but I don't want to.
He looks like Beavis.
Okay.
Take my word for it.
I will take your word for it because I'm not willing to challenge it. So then we get moving to some action. Sweet Chuck gets robbed. But it just so happens that Mahoney and Stuhlman walking by and notices that there's a holdup going on and decide they have to call it in, and they're immediately told to go in and take care of it by Mauser. This seems like a bad idea. Stuhlman is not the kind of person I would want taking care of armed robbery, but that's what he wants. Of course, Mauser is trying to cause all of these problems. So yeah, he wants the academy to fail because the police chief told him that if Lassard fails, Mauser gets to be the new captain and to try to fix it. So he is sabotaging them. So he deliberately sends in Mahoney and Stuhlman without backup. It just happens that everybody else in the movie shows up there at the comic appropriate time,
including our gun.
Yeah, Tackleberry and Kirkland show up, but for the most part, at least, maybe not Stuhlman, but Mahoney comes off as fairly competent going into the furniture shop, and there's some slightly tense moments, not really, but slightly tense moments because they have guns out, and the bad guys, you're not sure what they're going to do, and then Tackleberry and Kirkland show up, and apparently Kirkland has an automatic weapon, submachine gun, assault rifle, something. And, they completely blow the place to bits. Yeah, and there was lots of, dangly chandeliers and lamps and things that are great targets for being blown up. So everyone gets showered with the remnants of 1,200 rounds of ammunition fired was the amount that was quoted by Mauser, who was gloating about the fiasco. The criminals get away, and it doesn't look good. They're all in the ready room getting lectured by Mauser. No, actually, they were in Lassard's office getting lectured by, and then Mahoney rolls a 20 on his BS roll to get out of trouble, saying that their zealousness should be applauded instead of punished. And Lassard is a softie and lets them go. Mauser is incensed, of course, but what are you going to do? He's in charge. So they get out of it that time. Next part, more lame gang hijinks.
Is this the grocery store?
I don't know. At this point, I don't want to remember. They were terrorizing a little old lady at one point. More terrorizing Sweet Chuck.
Oh, okay. So I think the old lady gets terrorized, and Lassard tries to.
No, that's later.
That is later.
Oh God, yeah, that's later. We got a long ways to go before we get to there. An eternity to get to there. But they just do some of their rubber knife ganging stuff, and it kind of supposed to ramp things up. Then comes the bar scene. We have your Oscar moment, Dave.
Oh, that bar scene.
Yes, that bar scene.
Okay, there's so many bar scenes in these Police Academy movies. Now, I've talked about how Police Academy 1 had this really great Oscar moment between Hightower and Mahoney. Very legitimate Oscar moment. I need help. real help.
It was a scene that was not played up for laughs, but still had a good payoff. Good character development. There wasn't a lot of that in this movie. So
this movie had, they're all at the bar, they're all hanging out. Mauser sucks. Cheers. Tackleberry comes in and he's like asking Mahoney, "Hey Mahoney, can I talk to you in private?" "Yeah, sure. What's up?" Essentially, it's probably the worst thing that you could. The first movie, it was legitimate. I need help. The second movie, it was almost like
the second movie was legitimate. I need help too, in a way. But the only thing was, it was all based around the payoff for this particular joke.
Yeah, the guy I don't know if it was essentially Tackleberry wants to get laid per se, but it's just the way.
No, he just has no experience with women. But the trick is to the music to stop just as Tackleberry confesses loudly, for some reason, to Mahoney that he is a virgin, which apparently that was hilarious. And everybody stops and stares at him, and he turns and is like, "Okay, have I got a problem with that?" Yeah, whatever. It wasn't all that funny. It certainly had none of the emotional appeal that the first one had.
Yeah, the first one
was just a quick payoff again.
The first movie's Help Me scene literally had a reason. It had, it was a legitimate reason. Sure, you could ask your buddy, I just have trouble with girls or whatever. I guess, that goes on in real life, but just the way they handled it for the movie's sake was just kind of,
it was.
I don't know. It didn't work.
No, it didn't work. So then, Mahoney promises that it'll help him, and you'll see the effects of that later. Then we see them sent off on different assignments. Mahoney and Stillman end up in a tunnel doing traffic control, and this is where I really got to hate Stillman. He's throwing his ball for his dog to chase after and throws it into traffic. Words just fail me at this point. I'm a huge animal lover, and I couldn't see just hatred. It's not healthy. I don't want to dwell on it, but I very, very little love for most of the new characters in this one. That annoyed me, and of course Mahoney ends up with blackface from all the pollution in the tunnel, choking. That didn't bother Stillman. So their payoff, once they get back in and they're all grimy and dirty, of course, is they're in the shower room, locker room. Mauser comes sweeping through, all ready for his shower.
I like this part though.
Yeah, well, it's the one slightly chuckle-worthy part of it.
It's pretty good because you got Tackleberry's doing that hard.
Tackleberry was putting epoxy on his helmet to fix a crack.
Quick drying epoxy.
Yes, quick drying indeed.
And in these movies, everyone's always doing this thing to their bad superior, and they take the epoxy, switch it out with this shampoo, and Mauser somehow dumb enough to, but I guess if you're singing in the shower, in a public shower like that, I guess.
And he's singing all of his plans on being captain too. I mean, no subtlety at all. He's singing exactly about how the precinct is going to fail and he's going to be the captain soon. So,
So if you're going to sing in the shower like that, just guys or girls, whatever, you sing those kind of things in private. You don't sing them in public showers.
Public showers, yes. And so, of course, he puts the epoxy in his hair, and his hands, in comic fashion, stick to his scalp. So he's stuck naked with his hands on his scalp.
And then we do get our one F-bomb in out of all the Police Academy movies.
Yes, I did note that too.
Come on, guys, what the...
Yes. They did drop the F-bomb. So special.
Apparently he came out naked, like literally naked in that locker room. Like,
sure.
All the peoples were surprised. But
when
he
no, but of course you didn't see that on camera.
No, you didn't see it on camera, but what you do see on camera is when he goes, they lead him out of the room into the hallway of the police station, out of the locker room, and everyone just stops to look, and there's this naked man, but he's clearly got his boxer shorts on now at that angle. But
yeah. Another thing too throughout this scene is that I noted was that Mauser is constantly a setup for gay or racist jokes, either spouting them because of his personal prejudice comes out in a something he says, and constantly I didn't cite any examples because at this point I was losing my will to live, but he constantly says things that he suddenly at the end just kind of pulls up and realizes, oh my gosh, I said that. It sounds like I'm gay. That was what passed for comedy in this movie.
Well,
several cases.
In that era, that's kind of what they did for comedy. It was the gay thing, or there were some of these stereotype remarks. It was.
I'm not saying this for being outraged because of modern sentimentality. I'm just saying it was low hanging fruit. Oh God, that sounds bad to myself. But anyhow, that seemed to be a running thing with Mauser. Is he would keep doing that, and that would continue on in the next movie that he's in as well. All right, until next time, this has been Back to the Podcast with Dave and Rob. Thanks for listening, and make sure that you subscribe, and when we come out with new things, you'll be the first to know. Thank you, and farewell.